You're out there replanting flowers every spring, spending money and energy, and by August half are dead. What if I told you 15 plants go in the ground once and come back stronger every single year? That's what perennials do. Today we're counting down the 15 best ones for your garden right now. Hit subscribe because this content saves you hundreds in replanting costs every year. Let's go. 15 to 1, and number 1 will blow your mind. Number 15, coneflower. Echinacea purpurea. If you've never grown coneflowers, I feel sorry for you. This is one of the most forgiving, rewarding perennials you'll ever plant. And it self-seeds. Not only does it return from its roots yearly, it drops seeds that sprout new plants around it. Plant 1, get 12 free. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Blooms midsummer through fall when your garden looks tired and brown. Daisy-like flowers in purple, pink, white, orange, and red. Classic purpurea gives deep rose purple with a spiky copper-orange center cone that looks like a painting. Here's what garden centers won't tell you. Coneflowers are among the highest value pollinator plants you can grow. They attract monarch butterflies, swallowtails, bees, and goldfinches who go crazy for the seed heads in late fall. Leave those seed heads standing through winter and you're feeding wildlife while getting natural reseeding. 2 wins, 0 effort. Plant in full sun to light shade in well-draining soil, drought-tolerant once established. Space 18 to 24 inches apart. Reaches 2 to 5 feet tall. No staking needed. Deer-resistant, which alone is worth its weight in gold. Divide every 3 to 4 years in early spring when the center dies out. Dig up, split into sections, replant. You've rejuvenated your plant and multiplied it for free. People pay $8 to $15 per plant at nurseries. You're making new ones with a shovel. That's the perennial advantage. Number 14, Black-Eyed Susan, Rudbeckia fulgida var. Lavender Goldsturm. Write that down. This is the workhorse of the perennial garden and doesn't get enough credit. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, blooms July through October, spreads by rhizomes underground and by self-seeding. Plant once, get more every year. Classic golden yellow with a dark brown-black center, absolutely electric when mass planted. Those gardens you drive past and can't help but stare at? 9 times out of 10, Black-Eyed Susans are in there. Rudbeckia fulgida Goldsturm has been shown in university studies to bloom longer and more profusely than the straight species. Grows 24 to 30 inches tall, forms tight clumps, and is incredibly heat and humidity tolerant. If you're gardening in the south in zone 7, 8, or 9, where summers brutalize most plants by July, this one refuses to quit. Pair it with Echinacea purpurea from number 15, and you've got a pollinator paradise blooming nearly 5 months straight. That combination is one of the most recommended native plant pairings by the National Wildlife Federation. Not just beautiful, ecologically valuable. That's what we call high-value planting. Full sun, average to dry soil. Drought tolerant once established. Divide every 3 to 4 years and leave those seed heads standing in winter. The birds will thank you. Number 13, yarrow, Achillea millefolium. Beginners overlook it because they think it looks too simple. Experienced gardeners grow it in every border because they know the truth. Yarrow is among the most adaptable, drought-tolerant, long-blooming, cut-flower-worthy perennials in existence. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Blooms late spring through early fall, and if you deadhead regularly, it reblooms multiple times per season. Flat-topped flower clusters called corymbs come in white, yellow, pink, red, and salmon. Feathery, fern-like, aromatic foliage is why deer and rabbits leave it alone. The scent confuses them. Here's what makes yarrow special. It's allelopathic, meaning it releases compounds into soil that suppress weed growth around it. You're getting a natural weed suppressant built into your garden. Most people pay for mulch and weed barrier. Yarrow does that job for free. It also attracts beneficial insects like parasitic wasps, lacewings, and hoverflies that feed on aphids. It's doing pest control, adding beauty, and feeding pollinators. Basically, the Swiss Army knife of the perennial garden. Plant in full sun, average to poor, well-draining soil. Counterintuitive. Yarrow performs worse in rich, fertile soil. It gets floppy, planted in your worst soil, give it full sun, barely water after establishment, and it rewards you with months of blooms. Grows 2 to 3 feet tall, spreads vigorously. Divide every 2 to 3 years to keep it in the bounds. For cut flower gardens, yarrow is one of the best fresh and dried cut flowers you can grow. Flower heads dry beautifully, hold their color, and last for months. Real monetary value if you sell at farmers markets or make wreaths. Number 12. Salvia. Salvia nemorosa caradonna. If there's one plant that makes a garden look professionally designed without professional effort, it's this one. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8. Produces tall, elegant spikes of deep violet-blue flowers from late spring into summer. Cut it back after first bloom, called the Chelsea chop, and it reblooms in late summer. 2 bloom seasons from one plant in 1 year. Dark purple stems set it apart and create dramatic vertical accents. Incredibly drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, rabbit-resistant. Also one of the top plants recommended by bee conservancy organizations because the tubular flowers are perfectly shaped for bumblebees. Want a plant that makes a measurable difference to local pollinator populations? This is it. Full sun, well-draining soil, low maintenance. Grows 18 to 24 inches tall, combines beautifully with ornamental grasses, roses, and yarrow. Design tip: plant salvia in drifts of odd numbers, groups of 3, 5, or 7. Creates that naturalistic, flowing look you see in professionally designed cottage gardens. Costs nothing extra, just placement strategy that changes everything visually. Number 11. Catmint. Nepeta cross faceni. Walker's Low. Don't let the name fool you, it's not low-growing. Mounds to 24 to 36 inches and cascades beautifully over edges, walls, and pathways. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8. Blooms lavender blue from late spring through midsummer. Cut it back hard after first flush, and it rebounds with a second wave in late summer. Silvery gray, aromatic foliage makes it a powerhouse deer deterrent. Deer absolutely hate the smell. Combine catmint with roses as a border plant, and you've created one of the most classic, visually striking, deer-proof combinations in garden design history. Full sun to light shade, average to dry soil, drought tolerant. One of the most low-maintenance perennials on this list, cut back by half after first bloom. Give a light feeding with balanced fertilizer like 10-10-10, wait 2 to 3 weeks. It comes back lush and full with that second bloom that makes people think you're a garden wizard. Catmint, like catnip, which is Nepeta cataria, will attract neighborhood cats who may roll around in it, something to be aware of. But butterflies and bees love it just as much. Number 10. Coreopsis. Coreopsis verticillata moonbeam. This one is bottled sunshine. Soft, creamy yellow flowers cover the plant so completely you barely see the foliage underneath. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Blooms early summer through fall. One of the longest bloom seasons on this list. Thread-like, feathery foliage gives it an airy texture that contrasts beautifully with bolder plants. Moonbeam won the Perennial Plant of the Year award in 1992 and remains one of the most widely sold perennials because it simply works. Full sun, average to dry soil, extremely drought tolerant once established. Grows 18 to 24 inches tall and wide. Dead head for continuous flowering or shear the whole plant back by a third in midsummer. It flushes again with fresh growth within weeks. Coreopsis doesn't like wet feet. Poor drainage kills it faster than drought. If your soil holds water, amend with coarse sand and compost before planting. Get drainage right. And this plant lives 10, 15, even 20 years in the same spot. Number 9. Astilbe. Astilbe times Arensi. Here's where the list gets interesting because most plants so far love full sun. Astilbe thrives where others struggle. Shade and dappled light. That dark north-facing corner you've given up on? Astilbe turns it magical. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Produces feathery, plume-like flower spikes called panicles in white, pink, red, lavender, and coral from late spring through midsummer. Foliage is deeply cut, glossy, almost fern-like, even when not blooming, contributing texture and structure all season. Critical: Astilbe needs consistently moist soil. Unlike most plants here, it does not tolerate drought. If you have a low-lying area near a downspout, pond, or stream, that's exactly where Astilbe belongs. Varieties to know: Fanal for deep red, Bridal Veil for pure white, Amethyst for lavender purple. These are the best performing cultivars at any nursery. Grows 1 to 4 feet tall depending on variety. Plant in groups for maximum visual impact. Leave dried seed heads standing through fall and winter. They turn beautiful russet brown and provide structural interest. Plus, birds forage in them, and the dried plumes look stunning in winter arrangements. Number 8. Sedum, also known as stone crop. Hylotelephium spectabile. You'll still find it sold as sedum in most nurseries. The classic cultivar is Autumn Joy, Hylotelephium Herbstfreude, which translates from German to autumn joy. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, the name tells you everything. Starts the season as a tight, architectural, succulent clump with blue-green fleshy leaves. By late summer, it erupts into flat-topped, broccoli-shaped flower clusters that open apple green, transition to dusty pink, then deepen to rich, rusty red bronze by fall. Leave those seed heads standing through winter and they go coppery brown, holding structure even under snow. It's a 4-season plant. Most perennials give you 1 good season. Sedum gives you 4. Full sun, average to poor, very well-draining soil, extremely drought-tolerant. It's a succulent after all. One of the most foolproof perennials you can grow. Grows 18 to 24 inches tall, no staking needed in full sun, planted in too much shade, and stems get floppy, so keep it in the sun. Late-season pollinators, especially monarch butterflies migrating south in fall, absolutely flock to Autumn Joy sedum. If you want to support monarch migration, planting late-blooming perennials like sedum is one of the most concrete actions you can take. That's documented ecological value backed by research from organizations like Monarch Watch. Number 7. Russian sage, Perovskia atriplicifolia. This plant is drama. Pure, unapologetic, beautiful drama. Tall, silvery white stems, small, deeply cut aromatic leaves, and hazy lavender blue flower spikes that seem to float in the air like a cloud. Mass plant, Russian sage in a border, and it looks like someone painted a watercolor landscape in your garden. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Blooms midsummer through fall. Grows 3 to 5 feet tall and up to 3 feet wide. Full sun. It demands full sun. Extremely drought-tolerant once established. Deer and rabbit resistant because foliage is intensely aromatic. Important growing note, Russian sage is a subshrub, meaning the base becomes woody over time. In late winter or early spring, cut it back hard to 6 to 12 inches above ground every single year. Skip this step and the plant gets floppy and leggy, never achieving that gorgeous upright form. Cut it back, and by midsummer, you've got a full, lush, breathtaking specimen that makes everything around it look better. Combine Russian sage with ornamental grasses, coneflowers, Black-Eyed Susans, or roses. Blue-purple against yellow and orange is one of the most striking color combinations in garden design, called a complementary color scheme, and it photographs beautifully. Number 6. Daylily hemerocallis. There are over 80,000 registered daylily cultivars. 80,000. The overwhelm is understandable. Cut through that by looking for diploid or tetraploid cultivars, with tetraploids generally having larger, more intensely colored flowers with better substance. Reliable performers include Stella de Oro for compact reblooming yellow, Happy Returns for lemon yellow with repeat bloom, and Pardon Me for deep cranberry red. Hardy in USDA zones 1 through 11 for many cultivars. That's essentially the entire country. Virtually indestructible. Blooms early summer through fall depending on cultivar, and reblooming varieties give multiple flush cycles per season. Full sun to partial shade. Adaptable to wide range of soils. Drought tolerant once established. Divide every 3 to 5 years when the clump gets crowded and bloom production decreases. Every division is a free plant to replant or give away. What most content skips: the foliage. It's green, grass-like, and acts as a weed suppressor when mass-planted because it gets dense enough to shade out weed seeds. Use daylilies on slopes, along driveways, in large open areas where you need ground coverage without sod cost or grass maintenance. Municipalities use them on roadsides for exactly this reason. They're tough, they spread, they bloom, and they need almost nothing. One caution: daylilies are highly toxic to cats. All parts, even pollen. If your cats spend time in the garden, skip this plant or fence it off. For dogs, generally considered non-toxic, though large quantities of any plant matter can cause digestive upset. Number 5. False indigo, Baptisia australis. This is the plant that turns beginners into obsessives because nothing prepares you for how good Baptisia looks in full bloom. Deep cobalt blue-purple flower spikes, almost lupine-like, erupting from blue-green foliage in late spring. It looks exotic, expensive, like you really know what you're doing. Then you find out it basically takes care of itself. Hardy in USDA, zones 3 through 9, blooms late spring for 3 to 4 weeks. After bloom, foliage remains attractive, that glaucous blue-green color all season. In fall, inflated seed pods turn charcoal black and rattle when shaken. Dramatic, beautiful, sought after for dried arrangements. Here's what you must know before planting. Baptisia has an incredibly deep taproot. It doesn't like to be moved. Choose that spot carefully because transplanting a mature Baptisia usually kills the plant. Plant in full sun to light shade in average well-draining soil and leave it alone. Takes 2 to 3 years to reach full size, 3 to 4 feet tall and equally wide, but once established it lives 20, 30, even 40 years in the same spot. It's not fast. It's forever. Drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant, nitrogen-fixing, meaning it improves your soil by pulling nitrogen from the air and depositing it in the root zone like other legumes. You're improving garden soil health just by growing it. If you can only add one truly long-lived, low-maintenance, jaw-dropping perennial this year, Baptisia australis might be the one. Number 4. Peony, Paeonia lactiflora. If perennials had royalty, the peony is queen. Full stop, hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. Blooms late spring to early summer, typically May and June, for 2 to 3 weeks. And during those weeks, it is the most spectacular flowering plant in most gardens. Flowers are enormous, up to 10 inches across in some cultivars, deeply fragrant, coming in white, cream, blush pink, coral, red, and burgundy. One of the top-cut flowers in the floral industry for a reason. Brides have carried peony bouquets for centuries. What makes peonies truly extraordinary? A well-planted peony can live 100 years. Not 10, not 20, 100. There are peonies in American gardens right now planted by great-grandparents. That's documented gardening history. Planting depth is absolutely critical. The eyes, those reddish growth buds on the root, must be planted no more than 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. Too deep, and the plant grows vigorously but never blooms. The number one reason peonies fail to bloom is incorrect planting depth. Plant shallow, mark it, remember it, full sun, minimum 6 hours. Rich, well-draining soil amended with compost. Once planted, leave them undisturbed. They resent root disturbance and take 2 to 3 years after transplanting to settle in and bloom again. Feed annually in spring with low nitrogen, high phosphorus fertilizer like 5-10-10 to encourage blooming. Stake the flowers because those enormous blooms get heavy, especially after rain. Ants on peonies are normal. They're attracted to sweet nectar on buds. They don't harm the plant. Don't spray them. They may actually help with bud opening. Cultivars worth knowing: Sarah Bernhardt for soft pink with heavy fragrance, Carl Rosenfield for deep crimson, Festiva Maxima for pure white with crimson flecks, one of the oldest cultivars still widely grown, dating back to 1851. Number 3, lavender, Lavandula angustifolia. We need to talk regional specifics because lavender is misunderstood and that misunderstanding costs gardeners money every year. Lavandula angustifolia, English lavender, is hardy in USDA zones 5 through 8. It needs full sun, uncompromising baking all-day sun. It needs excellent drainage. If your soil holds moisture more than a day after rain, fix that or grow lavender in raised beds. It evolved in rocky alkaline hillsides of the Mediterranean. Mimic those conditions and it thrives. Fight them and it dies. For zones 9 through 11, look to Lavandula cross intermedia, called lavandan, which handles heat better, or Lavandula stoeches, Spanish lavender for hot, dry climates. For zone 4, seek out Lavandula angustifolia hidcote, or Munstead, both showing better cold hardiness. Lavender blooms early to midsummer. Silvery gray foliage is aromatic and deer-resistant year-round. Flowers attract bees with almost magnetic force. Lavender honey exists because bees are so drawn to lavender fields that beekeepers position hives nearby. That's how powerful the pollinator relationship is. Prune lavender every year immediately after flowering, cut back by about 1/3. Never cut into old woody growth with no green leaves. It won't regenerate from bare wood. Keep pruning light and annual, and your lavender stays compact and productive for 10 to 15 years. Skip pruning and you'll end up with a woody, hollow, dying mess. Prune it every year. Write it in your calendar. Cultivars: Hidcote for deep purple and compact form, Munstead for early bloom and lavender blue flowers, Grosso under Lavender for highest oil content and longest blooming. What commercial lavender farms in Provence grow. Phenomenal for exceptional winter hardiness and disease resistance. One of the most exciting lavender cultivars developed recently for American gardens. Number 2, Hosta. Hosta species. There are thousands of cultivars spanning dozens of species, and hostas might be the most underrated perennial in this countdown. Most people think of them as just a shade plant and dismiss them, and they're missing so much. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Primarily foliage plants, though they produce tall flowerscapes with lily-like, sometimes fragrant blooms in summer. The foliage is where the magic is. Leaves in blue, green, chartreuse, golden, yellow, white, cream, and every variegation combination imaginable. Leaves smooth, ribbed, puckered, glossy, or waxy. Leaves the size of your hand, or in giant varieties like Empress Wu, leaves bigger than a dinner plate on plants, 4 feet tall and 6 feet wide. Empress Wu is currently the largest hosta cultivar in existence. A single mature specimen can be 6 feet tall and 8 to 9 feet wide. It's a specimen plant, It's a specimen plant, a focal point, the kind of thing that makes people stop their cars to ask what it is. Hostas are the undisputed kings of the shade garden. They thrive in dappled to full shade and consistently moist, humus-rich soil. One of the best plants for difficult dry shade under large trees, an area notoriously hard to plant successfully. The number one hosta enemy is slugs. They shred leaves overnight, turning beautiful foliage into Swiss cheese by morning. Combat them with iron phosphate-based slug bait, safer for pets and wildlife than metaldehyde, or use diatomaceous earth around the base, or place copper tape around the planting area. Slugs get a mild shock from copper and avoid it, or grow slug-resistant varieties with thick, heavy leaves. Blue-leaved hostas with thick, waxy, puckered leaves like Halcyon, Elegans, Oi Halcyon are significantly less palatable to slugs than thin-leaved varieties. Divide hostas every 3 to 5 years in early spring when spiky nose tips just start emerging. A mature clump can yield 5, 8, even 10 divisions. Free plants every time. Number 1. And we are here. Number 1, Hellebore, Hellebores orientalis, also called Hellebores ex hybridus in many catalogs. Lenten rose. If this is your first time hearing about Hellebores, understand this plant will change how you think about gardening. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Evergreen in most climates, meaning foliage stays green through winter when every other plant is dormant and brown. And then part that gets people every time. Hellebores bloom in late winter and early spring, February, March, when there's still frost on the ground, when you're still wearing a coat, when literally nothing else is blooming. Hellebores open their flowers. The flowers are nodding, hanging face down, part of their charm and mystery. They come in white, cream, pale yellow, dusty pink, deep plum, burgundy, near black, slate, and every spotted, streaked, and double-flowered variation imaginable. Modern hybrid hellebores from specialty breeders produce flowers of almost unreal complexity and color depth. These are collectible plants. There are hellebore enthusiasts who spend serious money acquiring new cultivars like Orchid of Rose collectors do. Key cultural information. Hellebores need shade, dappled shade to full shade. They evolved in European woodlands. Direct afternoon sun in hot climates scorches them. Morning sun with afternoon shade is their sweet spot. Plant them under deciduous trees where they get winter sun while trees are bare, which coincidentally is exactly when they're blooming, then dappled summer shade when trees leaf out. That's a textbook example of a plant finding its ideal microclimate. They prefer rich, moisture-retentive, but well-draining soil. Humus-rich woodland soil is ideal. Amend with leaf mold or compost at planting. Once established, and Hellebores take 2 to 3 years to really settle in, they are drought-tolerant, long-lived, virtually pest-free, and deer-resistant to a degree bordering on miraculous. Deer won't touch them because the entire plant contains toxic compounds, cardiac glycoses, making them unpalatable to wildlife. Toxic to ingest for humans and pets as well, so handle with gloves and plant thoughtfully if you have small children or animals that chew plants. They self-seed prolifically. Once established, seedlings won't be identical to the parent because Hellebores cross-pollinate freely, but that's part of the excitement. Every seedling is a surprise. Some enthusiasts grow thousands just to see what new color combinations emerge. Bloom time, February through April depending on zone. In zones 7 and 8, Hellebores can begin blooming as early as late December. In zones 4 and 5, they wait until March of April. But whenever they bloom, they are the only show in town. That exclusivity, that nothing else is doing this right now, is why Hellebores are number 1. They fill the gap no other perennial can fill. They bloom when your garden needs them most. To see flowers well because they face downward, either plant on a slope or raised bed above eye level, or gently tilt a flower up to look inside. The inside is often a different color pattern from the outside. Spotting inside the cup, contrasting nectaries. It's like opening a present. Now, before you go, your bonuses. Things that apply across every plant on this list that determine success of failure. Bonus 1. Soil preparation. Every perennial performs significantly better in well-prepared soil, the native soil straight from the ground. Before planting, dig down 12 to 18 inches and amend with 2 to 3 inches of compost worked into existing soil. This improves drainage in clay soils and water retention in sandy soils. It's the single highest return investment in your garden. Bonus 2. The right fertilizer at the right time. Most perennials benefit from light application of balanced, slow-release fertilizer in early spring as growth emerges. Something like 10-10-10 granular applied according to package directions. Do not over-fertilize. Excess nitrogen produces lush green foliage at the expense of flowers. If your perennials produce lots of leaves and few flowers, nitrogen is the culprit. Back off the feeding. Bonus 3. Mulching. Apply 2 to 3 inches of organic mulch around perennials every spring. This suppresses weeds, retains soil moisture, moderates soil temperature, and slowly breaks down to feed soil biology. Keep mulch pulled back an inch or 2 from the crown to prevent crown rot. Proper mulching can reduce watering frequency by up to 50%. Bonus 4. Right plant, right place. Every failure described today, lavender dying in wet soil, sedum getting floppy in shade, baptisia sulking after being moved, comes down to one thing: wrong plant, wrong place. Before buying, research sun exposure, soil drainage, and moisture needs. Match the plant to your actual conditions, not the conditions you wish you had. This sounds basic, yet it's what separates gardeners who succeed from those buying replacements every year. Bonus 5. Several plants on this list: Echinacea purpurea, Rudbeckia fulgida, Baptisia australis, are North American native plants. Native plants, beyond ecological value, are increasingly proven by research to require less water, less fertilizer, and less maintenance than non-native ornamentals once established in their native range. If you're building a low-maintenance, high-impact, ecologically sound garden, native perennials are your fastest, most cost-effective path. The garden you build with perennials is the gift that keeps giving. Every year, those plants come back stronger, fill in wider, bloom more abundantly. You invest once, you harvest beauty forever. While your neighbors are at the garden center every spring dropping money on annuals dead by August, your garden is already coming back, already blooming, already doing its thing without asking for a thing in return. That's the perennial promise. And now you know the 15 best ones to make it happen. If this gave you even one new plant to try, one new fact, or one strategy that changes how you garden, hit subscribe right now because we are just getting started. Every single week we go deeper, go further and bring you gardening knowledge the big channels water down and the books bury in jargon. You do not want to miss what's coming next. Subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.